Hello and welcome to Lost Love Mystery, where we explore the twists and turns of love, the pain of betrayal, and the mysteries that lie hidden in the heart. Peter, a towering figure in the political world, was fully engrossed in Donald Trump's election campaign. Known as a decisive and influential leader, Peter had garnered immense respect within his circle. His charisma and ability to connect with the public made him a key player in Trump's election efforts. For months, Peter spent countless hours on the road, speaking at rallies, strategizing with colleagues, and ensuring the campaign's success. Despite the physical and emotional toll, Peter took pride in his work. His relentless dedication left little room for personal life, a fact he hoped Susie, his wife of 10 years, understood. Susie was no ordinary woman. Her beauty and charm had captivated Peter from the moment they met. She was elusive, difficult to win over, and fiercely independent. Convincing her to marry him had been one of Peter's greatest achievements. Their bond seemed unbreakable. Susie had always been a supportive partner, or so Peter believed. She was aware of his high-stakes career and his close ties to powerful figures like Trump. She often entertained guests at their home, hosting dinners and meetings in Peter's absence. Though their time together had diminished, Peter trusted Susie implicitly. However, as the campaign intensified, Peter began noticing small, troubling signs. Household expenses skyrocketed, but Susie's explanations seemed plausible. After all, hosting influential people came with its costs. The house was constantly buzzing with activity, a hub for campaign volunteers and supporters. Peter brushed aside his suspicions, chalking it up to his own stress and fatigue. But deep down, a nagging feeling lingered. Peter, the man who commanded attention in every room, was being blindsided in his own home. Peter was not a man who ignored his instincts, but his devotion to the campaign often left him distracted. Yet, in the quiet moments between rallies and meetings, doubt crept in like an uninvited guest. His home, once a sanctuary, now felt unfamiliar. Susie, his beautiful and captivating wife, seemed distant. She had always been the vibrant life of their home, but now her energy seemed directed elsewhere. Her phone became an extension of her hand. Peter often caught her texting late into the night, her expression a mixture of amusement and secrecy. When he questioned her, she dismissed him with a smile. "It's just campaign logistics, Peter. You're too paranoid." But it wasn't just the phone. Susie had started leaving the house at odd hours, claiming she needed to run errands or meet friends. Her explanations were thin, and Peter felt the gap between them widening. Then there were the finances. Expenses piled up faster than Peter could keep track. Every day, Susie requested more funds for hosting events or campaign-related needs. She provided invoices and receipts, but something didn't add up. Peter's intuition screamed that something was amiss, yet he pushed the thought aside, blaming the stress of the campaign. The turning point came when Peter began noticing items missing from their locker. At first, it was small pieces of jewelry, gold bangles, a silver bracelet. Then larger items disappeared, including heirloom pieces and important documents. Peter confronted Susie, but her response was sharp. "Do you think I'd steal from you? Everything I've done is for us," she snapped. Her indignation silenced him, but his unease only grew. The final blow to his trust came unexpectedly. One evening, Peter returned home earlier than planned. As he entered the living room, he found Susie with Thomas, a campaign associate who had become a regular fixture in their lives. They were sitting too close, their laughter too intimate. Peter's entrance startled them, and though they quickly composed themselves, the tension in the air was undeniable. Peter didn't confront them immediately. Instead, he began observing them closely. He noticed stolen glances, lingering touches, and whispered conversations. His heart sank further when he discovered messages on Susie's phone. Explicit, passionate, and undeniable, they revealed an affair that had been ongoing for months. Peter felt betrayed, but he was a man of strategy. He knew he needed to gather evidence and prepare for the storm ahead. The day after the election should have been a celebration for Peter. After months of tireless work, Donald Trump's campaign had triumphed, and Peter had played a pivotal role. Yet, instead of reveling in his success, Peter's world was about to shatter. It started with Susie sitting him down in their expansive living room. She looked radiant, but there was something unsettling in her demeanor, cold, distant, and detached. "Peter," she began, her voice eerily calm, "I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving." Peter froze, unsure if he'd heard her correctly. "What do you mean, Susie?" he asked, his voice steady but laced with confusion. She sighed, as if her decision were a simple formality. "This marriage isn't working. I've felt trapped for years, and now that the campaign is over, I'm finally choosing myself." The words hit him like a freight train, but Peter wasn't one to lose his composure easily. "Trapped? Susie, we've been together for 10 years. If something was wrong, why didn't you say anything?" Her response was chilling. "Because you never had time to listen. You were always too busy being Peter, the alpha, the politician, the man everyone looks up to. You forgot to be my husband." Peter's shock turned to anger. "And your solution was to betray me? To steal from me? Don't think I don't know what you've been doing, Susie." Susie's face hardened. "Yes, I took the gold, the silver, the documents. You didn't notice because you were too consumed with your own importance. And Thomas? He made me feel seen, Peter. Something you haven't done in years." The mention of Thomas was the breaking point. Peter rose to his feet, his towering figure casting a shadow over her. "Thomas? That snake? You brought him into my home, into my life, and you think that's justified?" Susie didn't flinch. "He's not a snake. He's a man who understands me, who values me. Something you stopped doing a long time ago." Peter's rage simmered beneath the surface, but he refused to let it explode. Instead, he spoke with a coldness that sent chills down Susie's spine. "You think you've won, Susie? Taking my gold, my silver, my trust? You've won nothing. You've just declared war, and I never lose." Susie stared at him, momentarily shaken but determined to leave. She walked out the door, leaving Peter standing in the ruins of their marriage. Peter sat in silence for hours after Susie's departure. His mind raced, not with sadness but with strategy. Betrayal wasn't new to him. He had faced it in the political arena countless times. But betrayal from Susie, the woman he had loved and trusted, cut deeper than anything he'd ever experienced. He began by gathering evidence. Susie might have thought she had escaped unscathed, but Peter was not a man to be underestimated. He contacted his trusted associates, including a private investigator, to uncover every detail of her affair with Thomas. What he found only fueled his anger. Thomas, it turned out, had been using Peter's name and resources to further his own gains. From fake campaign invoices to shady financial transactions, the trail of deceit was long. Peter knew he had enough to destroy Thomas both personally and professionally. Using his political connections, Peter ensured Thomas was arrested within days. The charges ranged from fraud to theft, and the evidence was overwhelming. The news spread like wildfire. Thomas, once a smooth-talking charmer, was now a disgraced criminal. Susie, on the other hand, was harder to deal with. She tried reaching out, first with messages, then with phone calls. "Peter, I made a mistake." Her texts read, "I was confused. Please, let's talk." Peter ignored her. When she showed up at his office, tears streaming down her face, he finally relented. "What do you want, Susie?" he asked, his voice cold and detached. "I'm sorry, Peter. I didn't know what I was thinking. Thomas manipulated me." "Don't you dare put this on him," Peter interrupted, his voice rising. "You made your choices, Susie. You chose to betray me, to steal from me, to humiliate me. And now you think a simple sorry is enough?" Susie sobbed, but Peter remained unmoved. "You didn't just betray me, Susie. You betrayed our life, our trust, everything we built together. And I will never forgive you for that." Forgiveness was not in Peter's vocabulary, not for something as profound as this. He didn't just want justice. He wanted Susie to feel the weight of her actions every single day. He started with the legal aspects. Using his network of lawyers, Peter filed claims against Susie for the gold, silver, and documents she had stolen. He ensured her access to their joint accounts was permanently revoked, leaving her financially vulnerable. But Peter didn't stop there. He used his influence to tarnish Susie's public image. She had always enjoyed being the center of attention, the wife of a powerful man. Now, she was the subject of whispers and judgment in social circles. Invitations dried up, and the once glamorous life she had enjoyed was reduced to isolation and shame. Thomas, meanwhile, languished in prison. Peter visited him once, not out of pity but to deliver a final message. "You thought you could take what's mine and walk away?" Peter said, staring down at the man who had betrayed him. "Enjoy your time here, Thomas. It's going to be a long stay." Peter's revenge wasn't just about punishment. It was about rebuilding his life on his terms. He began focusing on his career, using the betrayal as fuel to push himself further. But there was a part of him that wasn't satisfied yet. Susie continued to send messages, pleading for forgiveness. "Peter, please, I've lost everything. I made a mistake, but I still love you," one message read. Peter read it, his expression unreadable. He began planning his next move. Forgiveness wasn't an option, but neither was letting her off too easily. He wanted her to understand the magnitude of her betrayal in a way that words and isolation couldn't convey. Peter's plans were meticulous, calculated, and unrelenting. He was going to ensure that Susie not only regretted her actions, but also learned from them. He wasn't sure what form his lesson would take, but one thing was certain: Peter was far from done. The story of Susie and Thomas wasn't over. It was just beginning. If you enjoyed this story of resilience and redemption, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Lost Love Mystery. Your support helps us bring you more heartfelt tales like this one. Have a story of your own? Feel free to share it with us. We'd love to hear from you. Stay tuned for more stories that touch the soul and remind us of the strength in every heart.